Okay, in the book, our iceberg is melting. The main character is Fred, and because he's the main character, you obviously want to identify with him. And I did for about half the book. He sees a problem, he wants to fix it for the good of the people, takes it to Alice, takes it to the council, takes it higher up, and tries to fix it, and it does get fixed and solved, but as a team. But you know, he identified the problem and then went to a team to fix it. And so as an RA, I definitely identify with Fred. But about halfway through, we met Buddy a little more. And as a CDA, I honestly identify with Buddy because Buddy is said to be the penguin everyone likes. And not that everyone likes the CDA, but the council recognizes that everyone likes Buddy. And whatever Buddy has to say, everyone kind of goes along with it, even if it's not entirely trustworthy or accurate or whatever. And I think people, because we are RAs and we're respected by our peers, I think people know that, and they've definitely used us to relay a message to our peers because everyone likes us and it's better perceived when we say it. And so I feel like Buddy. Then there's Alice, who I would say is more of a supervisor for Fred and Buddy. Probably like what we would consider a grad or a CD, because she does listen to the problems and she helps them take them higher, and communicates with council and tries to help them out. She means well. So that's Alice. Then there's Lewis, who is the head penguin in charge. I would say Lewis is probably a Kathy or a Lisa character. Listens to the problems. If it's a legitimate problem, is getting it done, trying to solve it. So that's Lewis. And then, so as a fifth character, I thought about the professor for a second, but then I decided to make NoNo my fifth character because there's always a NoNo. But I think what the book doesn't really touch on is sometimes the NoNo is a person on the council, and that can make things really difficult and really discouraging. It's discouraging because you want that person to be your Alice. You want them to support you and understand where you're coming from, and they just don't. But sometimes the NoNo plays an important role, actually all the time, because the NoNo is going to let you know what naysayers are going to say, and it prepares you to take it more put together, to make your argument valid, to put down things that would be said before they're even said. And you look organized, and you look like you thought it through, because you dealt with a NoNo. And a real life example would be when the apartment RAs were trying to do universal meal plans, and we took proposals to everyone and their brothers and got rejected a lot of the time. And we were told that this was dumb, and we were told that it wasn't going to happen, and we were told that it was impossible, and we were told that this wasn't good enough reasoning. And we wrote like 4 different proposals, and now we have a universal meal plan. And that's an example of someone a little higher being a NoNo. Forming a group or committee to analyze the situation and look into solutions before presenting to the whole colony is definitely a good idea, because it gets you prepared, it gets you organized, and it's kind of like playing a sport. You don't just go out and play basketball. You gather a team, and if you like to win, then you gather what you think is the best players for your team, and you try and build it, and then you play. You gotta be prepared. My supervisory model looks like 2 grads, and one is Carolina, who I don't think will be returning next year, but her strengths are she's very personable. If you're having a bad day, she notices, cares, makes you feel better. Andy is the other grad. He likes to keep it real. He understands the struggles real, and he's really good at helping you prioritize your life so that when you are struggling, he's like, what's important, and helps you figure that out. Then we have a CD community director, and that's Tyler. And Tyler likes to get things done and can help you understand why things happen, because he's been around, he's been an RA, he's been a grad, and if housing ever does something and you're like, that's dumb, Tyler kind of helps you shed perspective so that you have a better opinion about it. And then it goes higher to like Lisa, who's a helper and is very understanding. If you can go to Lisa with pretty much anything. And then my biggest piece of advice is to kind of create your own supervisory model with like mentors. I know that my supervisors last year, I really liked the team that we built, so I still call them this year if I need to hear anything special from them. You can reduce complacency in your community by focusing on the urgency, and I think having conversations about why people are here, why did you become an RA, to help people and stuff, you know, helps with complacency. Kind of like what Patrick said, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward, and not to just settle, because then your job kind of becomes irrelevant if you let that happen. So there's that. In managing transitions, you need to explain the purpose of the change, give everyone a picture, have a plan, and give everyone a part to play. And my picture, I wanted to see, and I would still like to see, Thornhill and Calhoun become one. And we kind of did that with the idea of Thorncourt this year, but it's still a work in progress. And that's kind of hard to do because everything's still split. You still have the Thornhill duty and the Calhoun duty. And you can't expect to be one community when they always split you up like that. And that's going to be something you have to deal with kind of on a higher level, probably. But as far as community goes, I think it went well. And that was my picture. My plan was programming, but then we threw the programming model out this year, and that made it difficult. But now my plan would be to talk about connecting the communities as one by having one duty, and give everyone a part to play. How can the RAs help with this? How can residents help with this? Give everyone on every level something to do to help the community would be my advice. The 8 stages, the first one is create a sense of urgency. And for my real life example, I'm going to use when Thorncourt was starting to be called the negative staff, and obviously it kind of created its own sense of urgency because no one wants to be the negative staff. And step 2 is pull together a guiding team. And that was kind of easy too because the RAs obviously don't want to be the negative staff. I mean, this is our job. We wanted to do this job for a reason. And I think some people lost perspective of that. So it was pretty easy to build that team. And then stage 3 is develop the change vision and strategy. So we kind of had to take a step back and be like, okay, why are we perceived as a negative staff? And we did implement a lot of changes, which I think is why we were perceived as a negative staff. We were unhappy with the meal plans, we were unhappy with the winter break duty, but these are all things that affected the apartment RAs, and they were things we wanted to change. And so I really think it's about perceptions, and we made those changes. And so second semester has been a lot more chill, and we're handling it. But so we developed a vision. We were like, you know, we want to be perceived as positive, so understanding why we were perceived as negative in the first place helped, and then knowing that just complaining less helps us be positive, but having less to complain about helps. So step 4 is to communicate for understanding and buy-in. And that was communication among staff members. So, I mean, it can become a joke and you can be like, that's not very positive, Rebecca. But at the same time, you're being real. Like, there's a little truth behind every just kidding type deal. And so we kind of held each other accountable. And then step 5 is empower others to act. And that is kind of empowering each other to be positive, keeping each other accountable again. 6 was produce short-term wins. And as we became more positive, we became more appreciated by upper housing. I think that kind of came into light that we weren't negative. It was just a rough time in perceptions. Don't let up. We still today try to stay positive. Press harder and faster after the first successes. Be relentless when initiating change after change until the vision is a reality. And this kind of goes to the things we were trying to change, like meal plans and winter break duty. We got them changed to where we were happy with it, but we're also still worried about the future. And we made we talked about more changes for like next year's RAs. And then the final step is to create a new culture and hold on to the new ways of behaving. And that's up to you next year in your position and how you want the community to look.